In the finals, Stanley Cup Western Conference Final, Edmonton beat Dallas 6-3 to win the series 4-1. The Oilers scored on their first two shots of the game en route to eliminating Dallas in the West Final for the second straight season. That sets up a Stanley Cup rematch. The Oilers will take on the Florida Panthers. Game 1's Wednesday night in Edmonton. Florida won the Cup last year, beating Edmonton in 7 games. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
Now at Verizon, we have some big news for you. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh, did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
If you want to be an alpha,
you've got to get the winning edge.
It's kind of a necessary ingredient if you want to lead the pack. So mark your territory
with the winning edge.
You're in the big leagues. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
And welcome in. It's Football Circle FFC on this fabulous Football Friday. Why not? Right here on SportsGrid Radio, SportsGrid TV. Scott Wetzel alongside George Kurtz as we sit in once again for Ben Stevens and Joe Lisi on this fabulous Friday. A lot to get to today. Headlines. We'll go over some of the team NFL over-unders that we started doing earlier in the week. We'll take a peek at the NFC today. We got Caleb Williams doubling down, saying Chicago's no second city. We got the extensions in Minnesota, trade talks in Pittsburgh, hitting the jackpot in Las Vegas. We'll get to it all again, plus our over-unders. What's going on, George? How are you this Friday afternoon?
Doing well, Scott. You're right. We got another day closer to the NFL season here. You got your OTAs. Micah Parsons didn't show up for Dallas for the voluntary one. So the fun begins. And this is what we'll be talking about for the next couple of months, right? Who showed, who's not showing, who wants more money, who wants this, who gets hurt.
Yeah, it is amazing. You got to take a step back on some of the stuff and just realize it is OTAs. It is optional. It would be nice. You're in the middle of May. What's going on? Nothing in these people's lives. It is their craft. It is their business. This is how they make their money, to show a little dedication and show up for some of these OTAs. But the bottom line is they don't have to. I think we do make a little bit more of it than what it should. Like nothing that's going to go on in May, I think, is really going to dictate things on what goes on in September, except your mindset. Maybe you're really just not into it and you're not going to show up because you really don't care. Maybe that would lead you to think that what happens in May will happen in September. But for the most part, it's really not that big a deal.
I agree. And like I said, it's more interesting to me in training camp. If they're willing to eat the $50,000 a day, then okay. Then they're serious about this. We talked about Kirk Cousins, I believe, on Tuesday's show or Wednesday's show, whatever it was here. Let's say Micah Parsons wants more money. Watt's not there for Pittsburgh. We're all talking about Aaron Rodgers. TJ Watt's not make.
Yeah, crazy. Speaking of Pittsburgh, trade talks with my beloved Miami Dolphins. I don't know what this Dolphin dopey team is doing, George. They got a tight end, and as a Dolphin fan, I saw most of their games last year. This Jonnu Smith dude, he's good. He's good. I mean, he's the second leading receiver. In fact, he's the number one leading receiver as far as receptions go, second in yards for the Dolphins with 88 receptions. And that's more than Tyreek Hill, who only had 81, and they both played 17 games. That shows how good this guy is. He wants more money. Everybody wants more money. That's life in the NFL. You appease the guy. Give him another. He's making $4 million this year. He's well deserving of doubling that, tripling that. And the Dolphins are saying no, and now they're talking to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have 5,000, oh, by the way, tight ends. I'm not sure what they really need with another tight end. Well, I'm trying to figure out what this Dolphin team is doing. They trade, or they want to trade Jalen Ramsey. They don't trade, Tyreek Hill, but they tell the whole world they'd be willing to trade him if they got two number ones. They're holding on to Tua tags. for whatever reason. They're holding on to the head coach for whatever reason. They're holding on to the dopey GM, Chris Greer, who's awful for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm just hoping they just try and dismantle the whole thing and fire everybody, but I just don't get why in the world. You know how these NFL trades go. You never get true value. They're going to get like a third or fourth round pick for Jonnu Smith. And he's a terrific player. Doesn't make any sense.
I agree with on both sides of the argument here. I don't know why. Listen, you want to talk trade, fine. Everyone's tradable. If you want to see what's out there, what you could get for him, I don't have an issue with that. But you're right. You're not getting a third or fourth round pick. If you were, then you trade Jonnu Smith. All right, that's no problem. I would do that in a heartbeat. And I don't understand from Pittsburgh's point of view either. Fryermuth's pretty good, and you have others there. I mean, Smith would be an upgrade, but we're not talking, you got Smith, you're going to the Super Bowl. We're not talking that. So I don't understand this on both sides. I probably understand it on Miami's a little more. Like I said, you can talk trade with everybody, right? We'll trade Tyreek Hill. We'll trade Jalen. It doesn't mean they are going to trade him. You just want to see what the value is out there. Is someone willing to be stupid? Is really what this comes down to here. Right. In the end, I think Jonnu Smith stays. I think they'll, would you use the word appease? Sure. They'll figure something out there. Maybe they'll throw some incentives in, add another year, whatever it might be. But I don't see him being traded because I just don't see the value going to be out there to get anything. What are you going to get, a 6 to give a 7th back? What's the point of that?
Right. See, it's the mindset of the Dolphin team that's frustrating. 2-3 years ago, they were adding on players like that. They were picking up the Jalen Ramseys of the world, telling the world, the football world, hey, we're trying to win right now. It was not a destination place, but they showed, new head coach basically, Tua showed a little promise that they wanted to be really Super Bowl contenders. Teams that don't want to win Super Bowls trade away guys like Ramsey and trade away guys like Smith. And it's just a bad sign. It's just another bad sign for this Dolphin team. Like I said, I don't know what they're trying to do. What would be the point of the trade? Even if you got a second or third, which you might not. You want to get number 1, okay, but you're not going to get a number 1 for him. I just don't understand why you want to tear the team down. You got a lame duck head coach. You got a quarterback you don't know if he's coming or going, unless they just give it up on the season already. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So, and in Pittsburgh, there's some buzz about Pittsburgh trying to get another wide receiver too. Maybe they can't get a wide receiver, so they're going to bring in Smith instead. But there was a report, one of the guys on Twitter, you know how that goes, but still, that they were talking with some teams about getting another wide receiver to go alongside DK Metcalf. To appease Aaron Rodgers, maybe?
Well, that would certainly help. I mean, maybe. What are you going to get? Lazard? Are you going to trade for Lazard from the Jets here? Is that what Aaron Rodgers wants to go there? I mean, are we going to get stupid again with this? The more and more you look at this, Terry Bradshaw is right. What's Pittsburgh doing here? Move on already. All right, talk to Atlanta about Kirk Cousins. At this rate, he may not be as good as Rodgers, but he's not that far behind either. All right, neither one's going to really bring you to where you want to go. But I just don't know why Pittsburgh keeps going through this charade with Aaron Rodgers, who obviously doesn't want to play there. If he wanted to play there, he'd be signed already. All right, what's going on here? All right, so he doesn't want to be with you. I don't know why you're devaluing your, your history, your lore by trying to appease to Rodgers, who's well past his prime. Well past. It's not like he's 32 Aaron Rodgers. He's 41 years old here. What are you expecting out of him? I don't understand what's going on here. But like I said, the more and more I think about it, the more Terry Bradshaw, I think, has a great point here. What do you say? Tell him to go eat bark and whatever and stare at the moon god.
Talk to the gods or something like that. Yeah. I did see a tweet, someone from the Pittsburgh organization, not organization, I shouldn't say that, but someone that covers the Pittsburgh Steelers or Pittsburgh, one of those, websites. They put out a poll for Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Who do they want to be their starting quarterback next year? And Aaron Rodgers did win. But interestingly enough, Kirk Cousins had 2% of the vote. Like nobody. I would have thought he would have gotten a little bit more than that. Maybe not win, but having his name as one of the 4, it was Rodgers, Ben Rudolph, or Mason Rudolph. I forget who the third one was. And then it was, Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins only got 2% of the vote. I don't know what you're going to get out of Kirk Cousins. I know. Was last year a blip? Did he not fully recover from his Achilles injury? Is he really done? Is he going to be a Falcon? But I thought that was kind of funny. He only got 2% of the vote. I don't know how many voters, but still, 2% is 2%. Did you get a chance to watch the Caleb Williams press conference at all, or at least read excerpts of it from yesterday? We didn't talk about it yesterday.
I saw it. It seems to me like someone got a hold of him and goes, listen, you got to backtrack on this, buddy. All right, you can't say no one taught you how to read film. You don't know how. You got to backtrack a little bit. It seems like the PR person got a hold of him. And I don't care one way or the other, by the way. I just don't care. All right. Could they be so? Would they assume he knew how to read? He knew how to read film, and they didn't want to watch it with him. I find that weird. Very weird that a coach is not watching film with you at times to point out. Isn't that what your job as a coach is, Scott? To point out, listen, this is zone defense. This is what the safety was doing when you dropped back here. You got to look for this as far as a two-man zone, they're playing quarters here. I find that hard to believe that the coaching staff wasn't working with them. Hard to believe that. Maybe not as well as they should. Let's face it, Eberflus was a defensive coach, so maybe it was more worried about the defense here, but I have a hard time believing no one sat down with this kid. No one. Yeah. All right, so I'm not really buying that at all anyway.
He doubled down on stupidity. It's amazing. He's a well-spoken person. You could see him think of his thoughts on what he wants to say. But, it's about the Chicago stuff and being a Chicago Bear. If you didn't see it, he just, like I said, he doubled down on stupidity. He's reasoning. He didn't mean what he said, but he actually said what he meant. That's kind of what he was saying yesterday. We'll talk more about it week back. Football Full Circle, FFC here on the Grid.
Out of 5 scientists agree it's smarter to be on SportsGrid, and we're pretty sure that one scientist is still a virgin.
He just gives that 5.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Wendy's. A federal appeals court on Thursday allowed President Donald Trump to continue collecting tariffs under an emergency powers law for now. His administration is appealing an order striking down the bulk of his signature set of economic policies. Earlier in the day, a federal judge blocked Trump's use of the law to impose tariffs. The ruling was handed down the day after a similar, broader finding from a 3-judge panel on the U.S. Court of International Trade. Texas schools will be able to use harsher punishments to discipline students after the Texas legislature passed a sweeping package on Wednesday, part of their efforts to stem student violence after the pandemic. House Bill 6 would extend how long schools can place students in-school suspensions from 3 days to as long as they see appropriate. Principals would need to review the placement every 10 days. Students facing in-school suspension still complete schoolwork in a different classroom on school grounds. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Progressive knows there are some surprisingly expensive things in life, like frames, because you found a classic 70s concert poster. But when you went to get it framed, you realized the frame will cost about 4 times the amount of the poster, which is actually absurd because no one will be looking at the frame, and if they are, then you severely overestimated how cool this poster is. But then you remember by switching your home and auto to Progressive, you could save hundreds and put it towards a classic 70s concert poster in an absurdly overpriced frame. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers, not available in all states.
Something amazing is happening here. Scientists are using AI to study how whales talk to each other. CDW experts can give researchers the power to process complex data with HP workstations, advanced by AMD Ryzen Threadripper Pro processors. With easier handling of AI workloads, your organization can bring powerful insights to the surface. Make amazing happen. HP, AMD, and CDW. Learn more at cdw.com/HPAMD.
There's something you should know and always remember.
SportsGrid does not increase luck.
We're your unfair advantage for the latest sports gaming information. If you're looking for luck,
go find a horseshoe.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid. Scott and George sitting in for the next 50 minutes or so, going over some of the things, some of the headlines, and then we'll get into some of the team over-unders. We were just addressing the Caleb Williams press conference from Wednesday. Didn't get to it yesterday, so I looked into it a little bit more today and yesterday, George. And just like I said before the break, he kind of doubled down on stupidity by saying, yeah, I said those things, but I really didn't mean those things, but I did mean what I said. I mean, he was talking in circles. It's almost like he thought, and he even said this, those were just my thoughts. Well, duh, I know those were your thoughts. He reasoned that as you don't have to take me seriously. Those are just my thoughts. So I didn't necessarily say that, but those were my thoughts. It's yeah, hello, we know those are your thoughts, you dope. You told the reporter those thoughts. You can't now say, well, don't hold me to those things because I was just thinking those things. He didn't know. it was very weird watching him speak. He's trying to backtrack, and yet he got deeper and deeper. He said, well, listen, we all know the quarterbacks here definitely stunk, in Chicago, haven't had a 4,000-yard passer. And that may be, but you have had a Super Bowl, for goodness sakes. You've had some decent quarterbacks. You had your Jay Cutlers. It hasn't been necessarily a quarterback haven. I'll grant you that. But they've had Super Bowl winners and everything else. And he was, like I said, trying to get out from what was said in the book by kind of justifying everything he said, but ultimately tried to excuse it as, but in the bottom line is I wanted to be here. But you can't do that. You're not 12, right? This is not Topeka High. You played football in Chicago. You played football in USC. You've had reporters. You've talked to reporters numerous times. You know what you're saying. You're talking to a book guy. You know he's trying to sell books. When you tell the world that the Bears quarterback situation sucks, for an hour, and then the final minute you say, but I want to be here, that's not going to wipe away the first hour of thoughts. And that's what he couldn't come to grips with yesterday or Wednesday in his press conference.
And it's a shame because the Bears have had a good offseason, right? I mean, nothing's won in the offseason. I get that. But they've had they're a top 5 team this offseason as far as the moves they've made. You hired what we think is going to be a good head coach, right? You fixed the offensive line, which was a disaster last year. You almost felt bad for him. And it was hike and then run for your life because, it was a jailbreak every snap here. You drafted the wide receiver, Luther Bird. You got DJ Moore. You had the receiver from last year, Dunze. You get Colston Loveland, right, from a tight end who, theoretically, this team should be able to move the football. All right, the running game, okay, was you don't have a great back here. You have average running backs in Swift and Roshan Johnson here. Defense is good. They should make an improvement. But then as soon as that was over, we find out, what his father said he never wanted to be with Chicago, whatever came up. Why would you say that, by the way? Are you trying to sabotage your son? What are you doing here? And he's like, ever since then, now that they're almost in like self-preservation mode. Oh God, how can we do this? That's why I'm surprised the PR person hasn't gotten a hold of him. Listen, this is what you say. It'll be a story for a day or two, and then we'll move on. It's June, right? They'll move on. All right. But the fact that this is still going on here is somewhat concerning here. But it's also, hey, it's May 30th. They're looking for stories as well, right? Because there's not much out there in the football world right now, right? And we don't know June is the deadest time in the NFL because that's when, the OTAs have just ended and it's before training camp starts. So they're looking for stories here. But I'm just surprised the PR person hasn't gotten a hold of them and said, listen, this is all you say. That's it. We move on. And they haven't done that yet. It's they keep pouring gas on the fire.
Yeah. Even with the watching the video, right? In the book, he says, no one tells me what to watch. I just turn it on, basically being all by himself. So then on Wednesday, he says, it wasn't that I didn't know how to watch film. It was more or less the sense of learning ways to watch the film. Well, that's saying you don't know how to watch the film. Yes, that's exactly it. No one taught you, for better or worse, apparently anyway. No one sat down and explained to you what you should be looking for to watch the film. You can't say that's not the case, and then the very next sentence say, well, I just needed to learn ways to get things from watching the film.
You know what it reminded me of,
that
Scott?
means
And you referee basketball, I referee hockey. This must have happened to you at times where someone would complain about a penalty that I called and then explain what they did. And I'm like, yeah, that is exactly what you did. And that's a penalty. That's why the hand went up. That's why you're sitting in the box. I said, it's the old Herm Edwards thing, right? Think before you hit send. Well, think before you talk. If you don't know what you're going to say, then say very little. All right, be Derek Jeter. I think about Jeter. Never got in trouble with the media because he said nothing. He literally said nothing. He talked but said nothing. And be that way. That's fine. You can do that and get away with it. Just don't go. Foot and mouth is not going to be very good.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I used to cover the Yankees for WFAN when he was first coming up, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it was, and just as boring as a box of rocks. Just like I always never could imagine him being the team captain because when I was with them, as far as covering the team, it was just like that guy's a team captain. He said nothing. You almost regretted going over there. You had to because it's Derek Jeter, but it's just like I know I'm not going to get anything out of this. So they should have just told Caleb Williams, listen. Go there and just say, all this happened before I played with the Bears. I love being here. I take it out of, give us the old BS. I take it out of context. It's not that I didn't think the Bears were any good. I wanted to be here. Blah, blah, the second city, Chicago. It's a great city and everything else. My father, shouldn't have said some of the things he said. Of course, I want to be here. I signed the contract, everything else. I could have held out. I could have bring up things you could have done. I could have held out. I could have pulled an Eli Manning. I could have pulled a John Elway. I didn't. So, I wanted to be here. But he didn't. He had, like I said, just added more fuel to the fire. But we'll see. But you said you liked them, right? You think the Bears, and I think the Bears are going to be better this year. Tough division. I think they're going to be better than Minnesota. I don't know if they're going to be good as Green Bay or Detroit, but I think I loved what they did in the offseason, improving the offensive line. 1 year better. He should be better. So I do think the Bears are going to challenge for a playoff spot.
I do as well. But you also set the key point there. That's the best division in football. All right, I think they're better than Minnesota too, but Minnesota's not bad. All right, we just don't know about J.J. McCarthy. And McCarthy, by the way, hits the ground running. They're a good team too. So it's going to be a problem there. But I just like what they've done. They're heading in the right direction. You can't fix everything in one off season, but they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah. All right, quick little break. We'll come back. Las Vegas hitting the jackpot. How about that? And words from Justin Fields that you hope New York Jet fans will be saying by weeks number 3, 4, 5 of the NFL season. That's coming up next. Football Full Circle here on the Grid.
There's smart.
And there's not smart.
Not smart is hope as a strategy. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Keep it here.
And win. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. The SportsGrid Radio Network presents This Date in Sports History.
1935, in his final Major League at-bat in Philadelphia, Babe Ruth retires on an infield grounder. The Bambino played just one inning for the Boston Braves that day. In 1942, pitching for the Negro League All-Stars, Satchel Paige tosses 5 innings to beat Dizzy Dean's All-Stars 8-1. For SportsGrid Radio, I'm Mike DeMurgis.
The Technology Minute with George Capalbo.
A new MIT ping pong robot plays with power and uncanny accuracy.
Try and handle this.
High-speed cameras and predictive trajectory computer hardware control a multi-jointed lightning-fast robot arm attached to one end of the ping pong table, precisely executing loops, drives, or chops. Intended to be used as a ping pong training aid, the ultimate goal, improving the speed and agility of humanoid search and rescue robots.
But that's not going to save you from my notebook backhand smash.
Follow me at Capalbo on X and stay tuned to the Technology Minute for more cool stuff like this.
The Early Line.
You take a look at Tom Thibodeau. What did he say after the last game? It's very important for our guys to understand. The series isn't over, but you can't win it in game number 5. Game by game is how you have to take it. I agree. I think the Knicks win this game and at least force a game number 6. And if we get a game number 7, that would be fantastic. But tonight, I think it's a Knicks night.
It's The Early Line with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Weekdays, 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on the SportsGrid Radio Network. There comes a point when the chips are down.
To coin a phrase.
When the only thing you can do is stop and wait. Do you want to face that moment prepared?
Or rely on luck?
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the Grid, cruising along for this 1 hour of football news. Scott and George on FFC. So, Justin Fields, New York Jets quarterback, signs a 2-year deal the offseason, right around $20 million a year, anointed the starting quarterback. For me, they go from the pot to the frying pan, as the saying goes, from Aaron Rodgers last year to Justin Fields this year. Pick your poison. But he said yesterday, George, I think I can be great. That's been the goal of me for my whole life. Nice English. My whole career. I think the sky's the limit for this team, for this offense, but we do have a long way to go. You know what? The offense does have some weapons. So, I like their wide receiving core, like their running back core. I liked it last year, and look what happened. The quarterback held them back, and I'm not a believer in Justin Fields. I'm just not. You can count on one hand over the last 10 years how many quarterbacks turned good entering year number 4 or 5, whatever it is for Fields, 5, I guess it would be, right? Generally speaking, if you're good, you're going to be good in years 1, 2, or 3. You make some improvements, but you don't go from mediocre at best. Maybe he's a bench guy last year to all of a sudden being great in years number 5 and 6. It just doesn't happen in the NFL. You think it would because it's so complicated, but it just doesn't. I think I like the Jets team total over just because it's so low. But do I think they're going to be great? Do I think Justin Fields will be the quarterback next year for the New York Jets? No, I don't. And that's the benchmark.
A couple thoughts on this. I have no problem with Fields saying he thinks he can be great. Is it true? No. But what's he going to say? Well, I think I'm going to be mediocre. I might suck. I don't know. Right. I don't have a great. I mean, what's he gonna say? They all say this is like everyone's in the best shape of their career in training camp, right? They're all that baseball, football, hockey, basketball. They're all in great shape. I think. Listen, I am higher on Fields than you, but that's not saying much. I'm just higher than you are. I don't feel he's going to be. My problem is I don't think he's been given a fair chance. And what I mean by that, Scotty, is if you have Fields, you need to develop your offense around him. You have to have a moving pocket. You cannot have 3, 5, 7 foot drops, play after play after play after play. That's not going to work with him. All right, you need to be an offense specifically designed for him. And that's always been my issue here. They've tried to make him something he's not, which, by the way, drives me insane in the NFL with every player. When you draft somebody or you sign somebody, you trade for somebody, and then you want to fit, the square peg into a round hole. Your offense should be tailored around him, not the other way around. That's his skills. You need to make your offense work around him. So that's my issue here. Will the Jets tailor their offense around him? And in some ways, by the way, they have no choice because that offensive line is not good. All right, so they need him to move anyway. They're going to need him to use their legs, so they need to do with that anyway here. So I have more hope than you about Fields, but do I think he's going to be, oh, wow, he's the next guy? No, I don't think he's going to be that, but I think he can be somewhat serviceable.
Does that mean a playoff spot? Challenge for a playoff spot?
No, 7 teams make it. I guess theoretically you could challenge.
Is he the quarterback next year? Is he going to be the quarterback next year?
That's the right question. That's the right question here. I think he's going to screw the Jets over in some ways because they won't be a top 8 pick. They'll be out of that range. Where now, if you want one of those top quarterbacks, you've got to trade multiple assets. Probably multiple draft picks to move up. So that's where, he's just good enough to screw you. Probably not good enough to get you a playoff. I don't see that in the AFC. Bills are going to win the division. What is there, 4 wild card teams now? I mean, you're talking about Cincinnati, Miami. It's not out of the realm. Chargers, Denver. Broncos, they could be. Someone will sneak in that we don't expect. So they could be in that mix if things go well, if stay healthy, maybe. Maybe. I probably don't see it, but I don't think they'll be out of the picture in December. How about that? They may fall out of it in December, but I think going into December, they'll still be in the picture.
There's 2 real questions. One, will he be the quarterback ultimately next year? And that really tells you how well he'll play this season, right? And 2, how long of a leash does he have? Because the backup Tyrod Taylor is not great, but he's serviceable. But he's not a scrambler like Fields is. So you're putting in this offense to help Justin Fields. He stinks for 3, 4, 5 games. Then you bring in Tyrod Taylor, who's more of a drop back guy. And
that's also you can't do that.
7, 8, 9 wins. Yeah, and then
that's what I mean about the offense, though. If you have Justin Fields, your backup has to be a mobile quarterback too. You can't have 2 different offenses. This is what always happens with him, and it screws him up. This is what you cannot do. And Tyrod Taylor, by the way, if he's quarterbacking, then the Jets are just sunk.
Yeah, they're starting 4 games: Pittsburgh rivalry game, Buffalo at Tampa at Miami. They're looking down the barrel of a 1-3 start.
1-3.
So
yeah.
All right, more coming up. Football Full Circle here on the Grid.
The winning edge.
You've got it.
But not everybody has it, because not everybody listens to us.
But we're working on that.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Progressive presents the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders. NCAA baseball regional round action starts today. The top overall seed is Vanderbilt. They'll take on Wright State in the Nashville Regional. The defending champion is Tennessee. They're ranked number 14. They'll take on Miami in the Knoxville Regional. Number 2, Texas battles Houston Christian in the Austin Regional. Number 3, Arkansas hosting North Dakota State in Fayetteville. In the Auburn Regional, the number 4 Tigers take on Central Connecticut. Number 5, North Carolina takes on Holy Cross in the Chapel Hill Regional. NBA Eastern Conference Final, the Knicks stayed alive with a 111-94 win over the Pacers at Madison Square Garden. That forces Game 6. That'll be Saturday night in Indianapolis. The Pacers up 3-2. Stanley Cup West Final, the Oilers beat Dallas 6-3. Edmonton heads to the Stanley Cup Final for the second straight year. They'll take on defending champion Florida, who beat the Oilers in 7 games last season. Save big when you bundle auto and home, renters, or condo with Progressive. That's the SportsGrid Sports Flash. I'm Chuck Sanders.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MOVE to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MOVE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MOVE for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
You're listening to Sports Grid.
Spreading the winning edge far and wide.
Terrestrial, internet, TV, satellite, and don't forget our mobile app.
Face it.
The winning edge is everywhere.
Somewhere there's a squirrel frustrated he can't get a phone.
This is the Sports Grid Radio Network.
Is football full circle here on the grid on this fabulous Friday. Scott and George in for Ben and Joe. Talk a little NFL. We'll get to some team total over-unders. 2 quick little headlines here. Minnesota extended the contract for general manager Kwesi Adolfo-Mensa, which, go in line with giving the contract extension, a month or so ago for Kevin O'Connell, the head coach. So that makes a whole lot of sense. I have no issues. They're trying. They've kept that team afloat. Haven't gotten to the Super Bowl or anything crazy like that. But, we'll see how well J.J. McCarthy is. So I'm okay with that. Nothing crazy there. And then Raven reviews so far out of Las Vegas for Geno Smith. I might be the only guy in America that likes Geno Smith as a quarterback. I thought he got a raw deal with the Jets. He showed some in Seattle. I think he will upgrade the Las Vegas. I think it's above the mediocre line. You can get to 8 or 9 wins. I think he's above that. I think he'll get you 9, 10 wins, which is why, led Seattle to the postseason the last couple of years. I don't know if Vegas is a postseason team at this point, but I did like that move of just getting yourself at least back into the competitive mode with Las Vegas. And Jacoby Myers was raving about him yesterday, George, saying how great he is and this, that, what have you. So Vegas might be a surprise little team. Again, tough division, right? If Vegas actually is good, boy, you're in a division with Kansas City, is good. The Chargers, is good. And then the Broncos are, obviously made the postseason last year. That, you talk about a tough division. That would be a monster division if the Raiders got good.
It's why the NFC East is in so much trouble, because they're playing the NFC North, which is another great division, and the AFC West. It's why the Eagles, like I said, I don't see them having that number 1 seed this year at all, or the Washington Commanders for that matter, the 2 best teams in the East here. I agree with you about the Raiders. Geno Smith, my problem with Geno Smith, and I agree with what you said. He makes them better, of course. Scott, you could be a quarterback for the Raiders. They'll be better. All right, what was it? Who's quarterback? Gardner Minshew, and whoever else, the other O'Connell. God, that's terrible.
O'Connell. Yeah.
Right. That's he'll definitely make them better here. My problem with Geno is he's sort of Kirk Cousins. There's a limit to how far he's going to take you. And when it came down to crunch time, and I watched a lot of Geno's games last year. Once again, just a fantasy player in me. I had him in my main fantasy team. You want touchdown passes, and you look in those games late when you need that extra pass. Fourth quarter, he makes some. What are you doing? what did you see that you threw that ball? And it's only during crunch time. It seems like he does that. Like he's another guy who doesn't perform well when the pressure is really there. Right, and that's an issue with him. I said I had that issue with Kirk Cousins, Dak Prescott, same sort of thing. Dak is more the playoffs than regular season. Geno was the regular season. So I agree with everything you said. I think they're a better team. I think he makes them better, but I think 8-9 wins is probably the max he's going to be able to get you there. And it's not all him, by the way. It's because you play him in a division. It's a rough schedule there, and they could still be a much improved team, yet still be last.
It'll be tough in that division, especially. They got a lot of tough games. I'd like to see how many games teams have against playoff teams from the year before, and then being a last place team, you think the number would be low, but not when you're playing Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. Then there's 6 right there before you even start. You're out of conference or out of division games. So NFC, we did the AFC yesterday on Wednesday. So let's take a peek at some of the NFC teams here, George. We'll start in the East with the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. Not a bad schedule, all things considered. They do have 11 games against playoff teams from last year. That's going to happen, right, with the first place schedule. They only have 2 back-to-back road trip games, and neither one is very far. I think Philadelphia and Washington, New York and Washington was one of them, and then there was the other 2 close, or relatively close one, Buffalo and I think one other. Surprisingly enough to me, 6 1:00 games. That's a lot of 1:00 games for a Super Bowl champ. 7 in prime time. No real gauntlet, schedule. And something I've seen a lot this year. I don't know why, but they close out the year at Washington, Buffalo, Washington. All right, that's a decent little gauntlet. My biggest issue with it is, and like I said, I've seen this 4, 5, 6, 7 times, and that is they're playing the best team theoretically in the NFC East, right? Washington twice in a 3-week span, which is dumb. And then at the end of the year, which is stupid to me. And like I said, I've seen this 5 or 6 times around the NFL. I don't know why the NFL can't figure out a way to split the 2 best teams and have them play first, 6 weeks of the season, and then one more time in the last 6 weeks of the season. They got to put them in sandwiched between a Buffalo game. That to me is dumb. When those games could decide the division. I don't think they should be that close. But overall, though, their number's 11.5. It's even. They were 14-3 last year. I know they got their target on the back, but I think they get 12 wins. I think they go at least 12-5, even with that schedule of all those playoff teams.
Now, it's funny, when you first brought up Philadelphia, the first thing I was going to complain about was the Washington games. And I'm a big believer. Listen, division games. All right, no division game should be on a Thursday. That is idiotic in my mind. No team should have an advantage of having a Thursday home game in a division. Just shouldn't happen here. And then there should be one in the first half and one in the second half. All right, that's the way it's fair. What if those games Washington for Philadelphia? What if Jalen Hurts is down? Saquon Barkley's hurt.
Right.
And he missed both games. Because he's out for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and he misses both those games here. It's not right. It's not fair. And it probably somebody will be hurt that'll miss both games here. One game in the first half, one game in the second half. But whatever. I have a lot of complaints about the NFL schedule. A lot of complaints. The way they do things. Just once again, and I mentioned during the week that Joe Burrow complained that I think it's the 3rd or 4th year in a row that Cincinnati's traveling to Baltimore on a Thursday night. And by the way, the NFL actually admitted, he probably has a point there. So that probably won't happen next year. The schedule, like I said, you open up against Dallas, Kansas City. What is it? Rams, Tampa, Denver. You get a little break here. Giants, Minnesota, Giants. Then you get your bye. They have a nice bye in the middle, which is always nice here. And by the way, why doesn't the entire division get the same bye week? It's another one of my little complaints. 8 bye weeks, 8 divisions. Yeah. There you go. Problem solved. And by the way, the week after the bye, they play each other. This way, no one gets an extra rest here. It's not that hard, NFL. It's really not that hard. Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas again, Chicago. You said the schedule is brutal here because they finished first, playing the North, playing the West here. I think they get the 12-2. It's just a really good team. And hey, we didn't ban the tush push. It will get banned. It's just a matter of time. Right. They want this. Goodell wants this gone. So it's going to go. The worst thing for Philadelphia, by the way, was when they played Washington in the playoffs. Remember that series of plays where they're doing the tush push at the one? That was the worst thing for the Eagles because it brought it to a head where there's nothing's going on here. It's getting boring. The ref is threatening to award a touchdown with no play. All right, that was the worst thing that happened to the Eagles. They should have just snapped the ball so that this didn't get brought up here. But in the end, it is what it is. The Eagles are a really good team. probably still my favorite to come out of the NFC. I just don't think it's going to be. I just don't think they'll get home field because of the schedule they play here. They're going to lose. Hey, you're playing Green Bay, you're playing Detroit, you're playing Buffalo, you play Washington twice. I mean, you're not going to win all those games.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them to get home field advantage. It will. So, Dallas, your Cowgirls, 7.5 minus 145 on FanDuel. Anyway, to the over. 7-10 last year, and I say that optimistically only because everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, losing the quarterback, everything else, and they still got 7 wins. Now everyone's healthy, and it's 7.5. They got 10 games against playoff teams, which is a lot. 4-2 road games start of the season, first 6 weeks. That's not easy. They have a stretch there of Philadelphia, Kansas City, at Detroit in November. That's going to be brutal. 7 times in prime time, so we're gonna see them a lot, and then they got 5 more 4:00 games. So that's 12 games out of the 16 that they have times 4. Everyone has it to be determined last week. 12 out of 16 times we're going to be turning on a TV set, being able to watch the Dallas Cowboys. So that you're going to get sick and tired of them for better or worse. But I like Dallas. Maybe not Super Bowl contenders, but I think they challenge for a playoff spot, and I do like their over.
Agree with both. And by the way, I'm not a homer. Anybody knows me knows I kill the Cowboys on a regular basis here. They will never win the Super Bowl with Jerry Jones. Not going to happen here. But I think they're a little bit better than people are giving them credit for. I think they'll challenge for a playoff spot. Not the division, though.
Right. Football full circle. We got a couple more in the NFC East. And we'll take a look at the NFC North when we come back. Football full circle, FFC, here on a Friday.
We're not saying every SportsGrid listener is a legend, but you might start thinking about who's going to play you in the movie.
Just saying.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
With the SportsGrid News Flash, I'm Trey Westerberg. This update brought to you by Wendy's. A federal appeals court on Thursday allowed President Donald Trump to continue collecting tariffs under an emergency powers law for now. His administration is appealing an order striking down the bulk of his signature set of economic policies. Earlier in the day, a federal judge blocked Trump's use of the law to impose tariffs. The ruling was handed down the day after a similar, broader finding from a 3-judge panel on the U.S. Court of International Trade. Texas schools will be able to use harsher punishments to discipline students after the Texas legislature passed a sweeping package on Wednesday, part of their efforts to stem student violence after the pandemic. House Bill 6 would extend how long schools can place students in-school suspensions from 3 days to as long as they see appropriate. Principals would need to review the placement every 10 days. Students facing in-school suspension still complete schoolwork in a different classroom on school grounds. I'm Trey Westerberg with the SportsGrid News Flash.
Huge news. Right now at Wendy's, you can get a Son of Baconator for just $3. I don't think you understand this situation. The Son of Baconator is only $3 for a limited time. You know, smoked bacon, rich melted cheese. That Son of Baconator is only $3. Thank you to whoever wished upon that star. For bacon that just won't quit, gotta be Wendy's.
U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska and Hawaii, not valid on a combo or in third-party delivery platforms.
When you switch to Progressive and bundle your home and auto, you could save hundreds, and that's a surprising amount of money.
Whoa, that's like farmer's market money.
That's like give me a gallon of that locally sourced raw honey money.
That's certified organic heirloom tomatoes in every imaginable color except red money.
That's let's get 2 pounds of pink oyster mushrooms money. I'm not even sure I like pink oyster mushrooms.
Guess it's time to find out, because you could save hundreds when you switch to Progressive and bundle. Then the world is your pink oyster mushroom. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Remember when you were thankful you could just get AM and FM?
Things have progressed.
Now even an app on your phone can give you a 21st century thrill with that little drop of heaven called
the deposit notification.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
All right, welcome back. It is FFC Football Full Circle out of Friday. Scott and George going over some NFC over-unders. Left off with Dallas. Washington Commanders, 9.5. They were 12-5 last year, so this is a drop down, obviously, for the 12 they got last season. Only 8 games against playoff teams from last season, oddly enough. 2 back-to-back road games. They got a little gauntlet again. Here's another one of those situations. I told you, I found 5, 6, or 7 of them. They close out the season, George, Philadelphia, Dallas, Philadelphia. That's obviously the one we talked about with Philadelphia versus Washington. Just doesn't make any sense to me, but it is what it is. 9.5. I did think they were going to regress this year. They have the one less home game. Remember, it's the NFC that only has the 8 home games. So I'm thinking they're going to go under 9.5. Not by a lot, but I don't think they get to 10. They won 5 games to close out last season before the Eagles debacle in the playoffs. That came on the last play of the game. 5. That's a lot of close wins. That stuff generally doesn't duplicate itself. They got a lot of breaks. We know with the Bears game and everything else. So I don't think they get to 10. I think they get to 9, unfortunately.
I'll also back up your point a little bit. I believe it was almost the last 7 games of last season. They played nothing but backup quarterbacks. All right. I mean, they got it worked out. It worked out very well. I think Warren Sharp broke this down here, where they played nobody. You know, they played Cooper Rush twice for the Cowboys. It just had to be that they got lucky in the teams they played that they hurt at the time. The quarterbacks. That being said, I think they are an improving team, no doubt. I like where they're going. Williams Daniels, is a problem. You know, and I said that as a Cowboy fan. He's a problem. All right, because he is a dual threat there. They should get better. How does Debo fit in here, Scott? I mean, is he still that declining player, or did he need a change of scenery here? He's going to be that multi-weapon there. So I'm curious to see how they can use him here. The schedule tells me that they'll be all right. You know, getting double digits is not going to be easy. They need to get up to a good start. You play with Giants week 1, shouldn't be a problem. Green Bay, all right, probably not. Vegas, Atlanta, Chargers, Chicago, Dallas, Kansas City, Seattle, Detroit, Miami, that's somewhere in Europe. Denver, Minnesota. I mean, the schedule is brutal. It's just brutal. This is for every NFC East team. You know, they're all going to go through. There's not too many games. And I know when we lose the schedule, win, it's kind of stupid. I get that. But there's not too many games there where I'm going, definite win. I'll give you the 2 Giant games. Those are the only 2 games in the schedule that I would say definite win. Yeah, do I think you're going to beat the Raiders at home? Sure, I think you beat the Raiders at home, but I wouldn't say it's a definite win. We think the Raiders are a good team. Minnesota on the road, totally about McCarthy. How well we think he's going to be before I give you that win there. So I'm probably going with you here. I think they'll be a better team than last year, but it may be around the 9-win mark and not 11, like a lot of people are predicting here. But I still do think they are a playoff team. I think they're a better team than Dallas. So I think they'll get in there, but it's another team that I don't think will challenge Philadelphia for the division.
Yeah, not with that schedule. I have more faith in Philadelphia being able to handle its tough schedule than I do Washington. You said it, there's just not that many gimme games on there. You know, all their like semi games are all like, you know, Atlanta Falcons could be good. You know, the Raiders, we both think are going to be a little bit better this year. Seattle is halfway decent. Denver, I mean, it's just like one halfway decent team or better on their schedule. So it's going to be tough to duplicate. I hope they do. You know, I love Jalen Daniels, but I think that's going to be a real tough spot for them to be able to get to 10 wins this season. So Giants, we touched on a little bit yesterday. Over-under is 5.5. It's plus 125 if you want to go with the over, minus 145 on FanDuel on the under. They were 3-14 last year. They got 10 games against playoff teams, plus a game against San Francisco. So realistically, 11 playoff type of games. 3 sets, not even 1 or 2, 3 sets of back-to-back road games. And they have a gauntlet there of Philadelphia at Denver, at Philadelphia. Again, another situation where they're playing the same team in the division twice in 3 weeks, and then San Francisco. So I want to say over with them. I do, but man, you look at that schedule. Are they going to get to 6 wins? Yeah. I don't think so either, George.
I'm not sure they get the 3 wins. Where are the wins?
I don't think they'll be
Who
that
are they beating? Who are they beating?
They can at New Orleans.
That's in New Orleans. I'm not giving. Listen, do I think they'll win that game? Sure, but that's in New Orleans. That's far from a gimme. Where's the next one?
Right.
Come on. Anyone?
At Chicago?
Anyone?
At Chicago?
No, Chicago's a much better team than they are. No. If they were at home, I don't think they could beat Chicago.
Minnesota at home?
All right.
If J.J. McCarthy stinks to join out? I think
that's
he might.
That's the 15th game for Minnesota. I got to assume McCarthy figures it out by then. But no. No, the Giants. This is not a good team. It's just not a good team. No, the Giants, and they're all going to be fired by it, which is why I didn't understand bringing back Dable, because with this schedule, by the way, even at the time you were making a decision in January about Dable's future, you had to know your schedule was going to be brutal. We all knew who you were going to play. We just didn't know the order. All right, it's the only thing we didn't know. Right. And now you're bringing him back. You let him do the draft, trade up for Dart and all this, and you're going to win 3, 4, 5 games anyway. And you're going to fire him anyway in January because the fan base is not going to go through this again and take another 5-12 season at best. And then we'll let you make another draft. So I didn't understand that. Then maybe the new head coach or the new GM doesn't want Jackson Dart. And he just completely wasted that pick. So I just thought it was completely idiotic what the Giants did here. I understand that they didn't want to go through another new head coach, which they're doing every 2 years. I get it. But listen, outside of the one magical year where Daniel Jones had to, in the contract year, all of a sudden had to play great. The Giants have been a bust now for a long time here. And this season's not getting any better. And by the way, NFL, why on earth does anybody have a bye in week 14? Why? Come on.
Right? They couldn't give another team, 2 teams a bye early. God forbid we should have, 6 teams getting a bye. There's still not enough games to satisfy.
They do that anyway.
Yeah. It's
there are weeks with 6 teams, 8 teams. We've seen that. Yeah, and by the way, I haven't checked, but I bet you if I look, Scotty, I'll find a week where there's only 2 teams that are on bye. I'll bet you I'll find that.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Or at least 4. Only 4. So they clearly could have given, week 14 is just way too long, So, all right, quick little break. We'll take a peek at the NFC North as we break down over-under team totals here on the grid. Scott and George, in for Ben and Joe.
Is winning the lottery. Strategy is settling your divorce before cashing in the ticket.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Get the winning edge. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network. SportsGrid TV and radio networks are the premier streaming video and audio channels dedicated to serving the sports wagering audience. Found on major smart TV platforms and streaming on SportsGrid Radio and Sirius XM Channel 159. SportsGrid's real-time data, expert commentary, and entertaining analysis transform viewers into informed sports enthusiasts. Our weekday radio lineup begins with the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern with Ben Stevens and Donnie Rightside. Donnie joins Kevin Walsh on Money Line at 11 a.m. Eastern, followed by Football Full Circle at noon Eastern. Kaplan and crew join the party at 1 p.m. Eastern. And Pharrell, Coast to Coast, keeps things rolling from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Get in the mix with Kevin Walsh and Game Time Decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern. Evenings simmer with Carver and Lisi. Then boils over with Gabe Moritzi on Sports Rage Late Night at 10 p.m. Eastern. To find out where to find SportsGrid that's best for you, go to sportsgrid.com. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Imagine combining the exciting investment opportunity of cryptocurrencies with the power of artificial intelligence to maximize your IRA, 401k, or other investment funds. Listen, if you're looking for ways to accelerate your retirement growth, Block Trust IRA has market-leading strategies and solutions for all levels of investors, from $1,000 to millions. And they partner with Bitcoin Magazine's #1 crypto trading fund in the world to maximize your returns. Plus, their team of IRA specialists is here to help you roll over your IRA or qualified retirement account to the new world of cryptocurrency investments. So make this free call right now to set up your account and learn more.
800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. 800-434-5313. That's 800-434-5313.
It's stark but true.
You can either listen to SportsGrid for strategies, odds, and more, or you can pay your bills by digging in your couch cushions for change.
Just be sure to wear gloves.
Get the winning edge.
This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.
Welcome back. It is Football Full Circle here on the grid. Scott and George going over some NFC team total over-unders. Left off with the NFC East. Let's move to the NFC North, where the Detroit Lions, phenomenal season last year, right? Was straight up against the spread with the boys in Vegas. They were just a covering machine, 15-2. Forget about what happened in the postseason, but regular season, They were a tough team, obviously, to beat. This year, though, George, over-under is set at 10.5. That's 4.5 less wins than last season. They got 3 sets. Here's why. 3 sets of back-to-back road games. They got a gauntlet of at Baltimore, Cleveland, at Cincinnati, at Kansas City. You could easily go 2-2 there, right? Tough schedule. They got 11 games against playoff teams. That's what happens when you have a division that has 3 teams make the postseason, and they have a game against Cincinnati. So that's 12 games against playoff caliber teams. There's in prime time 7 times, 5 1:00 games. The rest are 4:00 games. Well, that's a tough schedule. But I have enough respect for them where I do think they get 11. And they're not going to get 15 again or 14. Might not even be the number 1 seed, even with Philadelphia having a similar type of schedule. But I do think they get to 11. I'll give them more credit than that. They lose both their coordinators, I get that, but I'll say they go 11-6.
I think that's fair. All right, I think that's fair. Losing both coordinators will certainly hurt. There'll be an adjustment period there. I know they're bringing in guys who know, they've been with the team, know the players, the system, and all that. I get that. We all like Detroit, right? They're a fun team. Jahmyr Gibbs is just becoming utterly fantastic. They're probably your number 1 pick in fantasy land, by the way. Green Bay, Chicago, Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Kansas City. I mean, the schedule's tough. It's not impossible, but it is not fun. They're going to be a lot of times you're going to be watching a lot of Detroit because they're going to be big games that we want to see each and every week here whenever they're playing here. I think 11's fair. I do think 11's fair. I think there's a chance they get to 12 here. I think the only way they would get less than double digits is injuries, which we could say that about every team here. So I do like the Lions. I think they're likely to win that division still, but it's going to be close. It's going to be, like I said, they're not going to win 13-14, so it's going to be close. I think Green Bay, when we go over them, is going to be right around this win total as well.
Yeah. The problem with Detroit this year is they got it reverse. They got all the tough games on the road. They got all the easy games at home. If you're a really good football team like Detroit, you want that the other way around. You want those really tough games. Baltimore at home, Kansas City at home, Cincinnati at home, Philadelphia at home, right? No, not for Detroit this year. All those games, all on the road this season. So that's
for
tough.
3 of the last 4 on the road, too.
Yeah, 3 of the last 4. Rams are on the road as well. Another tough team. Who do they have at home? Anybody, for goodness sake? It's amazing, George, when you have 9 home and 8 road. You wouldn't think that's not that big a deal. But when you look at the schedules of the teams that have the 9 road games, man, it seems like they have 2 or 3 extra road games. It's just like road game after road game after road game for Detroit. Amazing. It's
just Dallas. The only 2 teams they play that are decent at home be Dallas and Tampa, besides their divisional games, of course. Other than that, you're right, schedule makers were not kind to them. That, by the way, when I say that, once again, these are all set. Even next year, we know about 80% of who you're playing next year in the NFL. So it's It's not like the NFL decide, we're going to screw the Lions this year. No, this is already set in stone. No matter who finishes where. So it is what it is there. But yeah, the schedule is not kind, to put it nicely here. This is why we're on the, like I said, around double digits, around 11, but not anything better than that.
Minnesota's 8.5. Obviously, a whole different situation this year. They were 14-3 last season, but Sam Darnold out, JJ McCarthy in. They got 2 games in Europe as well, 6 primetime games. They got a gauntlet in October of Philadelphia at the Chargers, at Detroit, Baltimore. Good luck surviving that. They have 3 sets of back-to-back road games. They got 4 road games in 5 weeks in one stretch, plus the Europe trip. So that's a tough schedule. I'm not a J.J. McCarthy guy, so I'm going to go under. Of course, I wasn't a Sam Darnold guy either, and they got to 14-3. So it's not going to take a whole heck of a lot, but I'll still go under with that schedule.
Yeah, this one's tough because it is all about J.J. McCarthy. Do you believe or do you not believe? You said it. You don't believe here. I kind of don't believe also, by the way. So I'm probably with you on the under. I think his ceiling, his upside would be and he's an NFL quarterback. That sort of thing. With nothing, he's not going to be a franchise guy. Oh my God, we're facing J.J. McCarthy. We're not going to win today. That sort of thing here. So I'll take the under as well.
Yeah. And then you got Green Bay 9.5 and Bears 8.5. We can discuss that, I suppose, next time we get together, which I'm sure won't be too far down the line. So good job as always, George, working with you. We'll do it again soon. Football full circle on this Friday right here on Sports Grid Radio.
found the advantage for gaming, odds,
and more.
But we call it the winning edge for short. This is the SportsGrid Radio Network.